I'm satisfied with Allah as Lord, with Islam as the way of life, Islam Medina, and with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger of Allah. With that in mind, we go into our subject today, which is relativity of standards. And during this period, there's certain things going on. In fact, we're not taking a week or two rest, but there is a slight pause. Because right now, it has been, and we don't know exactly when it'll end, but there's an explosion going on. And this is 5 times 5 is 25. And even in the Jahiliyyah, getting money, some periods was mathematical and some periods was geometric when there's an explosion. And an explosion means that the things that you were doing before the explosion, after the explosion, it's not that it doesn't count, but you've been propelled into a whole new arena. I mean, most organizations, they're not prepared for that. Okay, definitely we're prepared for it. We've been prepared for it for 35, 30 years. We might have been working on this for, if y'all remember the outline in 1986, and I said that they had, how good this period was. They had stole paperwork and what have you. And that was a good period. That was good that everything was perfect. And that's the way it is now. But this is, as we call it, an explosionary period. And things that happened during that period, they're more in geometric terms and mathematical terms. In other words, you just can't keep count of them. It's just each one multiplies, some multiplies by 10 times, some multiplies by 100, some multiply 1,000. There's division going on in that. So during this explosion, it's good to observe things or step back beyond the explosion. You might say, step back, you're right in it. Well, if we haven't did it in a while, but when I go to California, when I go overseas, when I'm on the plane, I always pull myself back and I look at D.C. from 30,000 feet up, whatever it is. When I go to California, I look at D.C. from up there. And I look at, and I draw, I think I've talked about this many times before, but it's a wonderful view. All the lines, you can draw lines from person number A to person number B, and you draw lines from D.C. to California to Iran, and you just get to drawing lines from different people to there, and pretty soon it's something. But it works, especially when you have an idea of who you're dealing with. And it really works. But this time we're kind of working with new and bigger standards, standards of wealth, standards of happiness. You might wonder, well, what do standards of wealth and happiness do to it? If you look at people that are the wealthiest people, right? The whatever they call their name, the Bezos and all those guys. Those guys are acting like crackpots, like they're technically crazy. I mean, real crazy. When you talk about Nero fiddled while Rome burns, they want to get on it. They buying, I don't know how many millions it costs to get on take a little suborbital flight or a little flight up and down, you know, like going on a merry-go or super merry-go-round. Goes up and come back. Uh, Also, when these so-called new worlds and what have you, I don't know if anybody saw that picture a few years ago with Keanu Reeves, whatever his name was. When the earth stood still. Yeah, and so uh, the lady was asking him, "Can't you, kind of look out for us? You said you came to save the earth," and he just didn't say nothing. And she kept pressing the issue. You came to save the earth from us. He says there's only a few places in the universe that's got this environment. And then the white lady that was Secretary of State, she was talking about when superior societies overtake simple society, right? The superior society usually enslave, and they use their terms. When we came from over there to over here, we enslaved the people over here. They had great civilizations over here, the Incas, the Mayas, but they didn't have a few simple things. They didn't have gunpowder and they didn't have the wheel. And they had an ideology said that light-skinned beings would come from somewhere and do some dumb stuff. And there come the crackers up out of the thing and down in Mexico, and they riding horses, which they didn't have over this way. And at first they didn't know the difference between the horse, and when they saw it separate, they said, "Good God Almighty, this is big stuff going on here. This animal can also duplicate and separate, and one part can do certain other things," and it was tripping. So we always thought, well, instead of going to find the so-called new world, and we relating it now to our time, you ought to fix this one up before you go running around somewhere else, right? You should fix this one up. Thing about it is we are blessed with time and distance. They can't colonize the sun; it'll burn their behind up. The moon is not, they can go up there if they want. Mars is quite a ways off. So the distance and the time is so far that the people that's alive now, Proxima Centauri is the nearest star. That's 4.5 light years away. So ain't nobody gonna be around here. But even any other distance, I'm gonna get right to the point that before any of these idiots try to go somewhere else, we have an excellent opportunity to fix up what we have here. This thing is perfect that we got here, just that they didn't mess it up. So they should use all the engineering, technology, and what have you to fix it up. During this explosion, the things that meant something before the explosion, after don't mean much. a lot of the things that we had in mind, like we have to really upgrade certain things. Example, our strategic command center. And okay, we had certain ideas about that last year, then later on this year, and recently. But we have to let this explosion clear up, and then we focus on what is to happen, the the relativity standards of then, post-explosion, because it's clearly an explosion. It's not on, when I say explosion, the social, psychological, and activities that's going on Earth, they're happening so fast and so big that it's unbelievable. So we have a temporary period. The temporary period is to do the things that you can't say, I'm just going to go stay in a corner until it's, no. We have things that we should do and we have to do. We have our programs planned for going over to Baltimore. So the meals we want to plan and do, we'll start doing those in a few days. So we'll carry those out. There's a few other things that may have altered. Example, we raised $8,000, but $8,000 is just what it sounds like. And what we're dealing with, $8,000 is like 85 cents. You know, I mean, because when you add up your bills that you have to pay, you give that a few more days, and that $8,000 would be gone. So, what I mean, in a temporary way, we'll start this week. We'll make a new DVD and a new flyer, and we may go this Friday and pass them out. And we'll come the Friday after that and raise funds, you know, which that Friday after that might be pretty close to, it'll be right. So that's what they be getting ready to go over there. We're not going to raise funds over there. We're going to give them free, everything free. But we're going to be at least at a couple of places raising funds. Why? Because whatever happens, taxes continue. We have to go out to California. We only have $8,000, so we need 30. We go out there. I mean, we'll do what we have to here, and we can hook up what we're going to do for the Eid here. See, we have that program. That's pre-Eid. That's a month before Eid, something like that. So after we do that here, then we'll prepare here for Eid, and we'll go out there and prepare for Eid. Whatever, we're not going to, this is an explosionary period, but we just going to duck, and the explosion goes up and it goes out a lot of times too. But we still have to function we have to function correctly. So we might call those temporary things that's for the close period around that what we're doing. So relativity standards have to do with the standards of reality, and they're relative to time, place, and circumstances. So I can visualize when this thing, what are we going to work toward? Uh, it appears that technically we have to go for big, gigantic, not. So yes, we'll do our temporary center next door, the stuff we have to do here. But those will all be temporary. They'll all be, so everything now is for the big future. That the plans that we have for this, it's not, number one, we don't have no idea about the time that's left, so you might as well go for it. That means we'll have a stronger message for the people. Yeah, our recruiting will be more direct. In fact, okay, we'll put this in our first package, and then we'll put the one we're gonna do Wednesday. I mean Thursday in another package, and we'll write a flyer. This is not spontaneous, but it's kind of. We'll write a flyer. That flyer will pass out this Friday, and yeah, we'll pass it out this Friday with maybe this or one of the past DVDs in that package. Like we did before, we put a flyer. Yeah, so the thing that we'll write up tonight and in the morning will be the flyer, would be the center thing. And the CD, DVD would be, yeah, filler. Okay, so we got that. Let's just make a little note there, DVD. Okay, relativity standards. New standards of wealth and happiness. Example, it's clear to see that the people are wealthy and not happy. And the people that are not wealthy are definitely not happy because they're paying too many bills and they got too much stress going on. You know what I mean? And people have standards of beauty. Almost the more beautiful people are, the less happier they are. Something's going on. Something is, right? All kind of crackpotish things are happening because they've been told that since I am beautiful, I should be more da 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 da, and that ain't happening because nobody added anything else with it. They broke everything. As time went on, it broke down to the physical thing. You know what I mean? More in the physical. Bodybuilding has become, from in my time, bodybuilding was to develop a nice, beautiful, body. And now it's grotesque. It's grotesque. That's what it was. And to me, it was grotesque over 20 years ago. I would say 30 years ago, it was already grotesque because on the bicep, people was getting boop and one on top of that. And now they got boop, boop, and three knots. There used to be one knot, right? It's beyond, but that's because they're judging on physical only. So whatever it is physically, you have to outdo that the next go round. And there's no limit to what you can do with that thing. I mean, they got people, when I was lifting iron really long time ago, Leroy Colborn got the first 20-inch arm. Now you got to remember, Hercules, Steve Reeves, and all of those, he didn't have but a 19. But he had a nice proportion. It was human. You know what I mean? It was more in the 50s and the 60s. Yeah, it was more human. But by the time you get to Sergio Oliva, and you ever seen Sergio Oliva? That boy was cut. Of course, I don't want to argue with them. They stole it and gave it to Arnold, but I mean, it's okay. That's their award. But by that time, they was leaving the ground on for health and bodybuilding. They moving into beyond relativity, beyond, you know what I mean? Like there's no purpose for that. There's no you can't do nothing with it. It's non-functional. It don't do nothing. You know, it don't do nothing, and that's the point. It's a lot of it there, but it don't produce anything. It don't do anything. And that's why we're calling this relativity standards. I'm going to try to make sense. Just hold on a minute. The same thing about wealth. At a certain period, wealth, you feel better about things. But once you go to another level, it loses its perspective. So if you want to be, I'll be happy if I get $1 million. Well, nowadays $1 million is not a whole lot of money. But if you just say, I want to have $1 million cash, which definitely ain't a whole lot of money, you would say, this is my goal, have $1 million cash, plus all other stuff that I have I want. And that might make you you might be kind of happy, especially if you're young and you juiced up about what you're doing, But then a guy comes along and he has $10 million. So you got to get $100 million so you'll be happy. Okay, up in that arena, it loses, there's, when you get to so many millions, there's nothing you can do with it anymore. Except oppression. You can't do anything at that point. You can consolidate businesses and you can gain more power over people. The more power you gain over them, the less power you'll have. The guy making $1 zillion and he got them working. It's worse than slave labor because the boss man can't have an overseer there all the time when you're picking cotton, right? So soon as he turned his head, it's just like in the penitentiary and the boss man is there, we all working. The boss man take coffee break, go walk somewhere else. We take a breather, leaning all on the hole or what have you. Soon as he come back, we just working. We haven't went nowhere. We're the same place we was when he left. And he got enough sense to know that. But I'm saying is, now they got cameras and they can watch the people and they got to work. Can you imagine? I don't know if y'all wouldn't remember this old movie from the 20s. Charlie Chaplin. He made a silent movie about machines. Okay. Yeah. What was it called? Yeah, but it was a machine. It was off of like working at Ford or somewhere. Okay, well now they done got it 10 times that, because at least they had brakes in those days. Can you imagine now the guy's got a camera on you and you can't even, and the stuff don't break down. You know what I mean? They used to have to slow down the line, the big line with all the cars on it. Hey, slow it down. We just got a a fender got caught in there. And once you got the game, you would know how to slide a fender in there sideways, just to stop the line for about 10 minutes to have a cigarette break or a coffee break, right? And that's, but not nowadays, you can't do none of that. Can you imagine that the more money these people got, and think about the blessings of a disease, airborne disease or something, and they get triple, quadruple rich off that period. And instead of people going out to eat, they all ordering on the thing, and so the Amazon people they gonna make $1 billion, and the poor other people with restaurants go broke. So it's harm all the way around, because the people, instead of going out to eat dinner, they push a button and call and have it dropped off at the house. Now the deliverer get plenty of exercise driving around, but the people in the house just get fatter and fatter and fatter. Why? Hell, they don't go outside. And then they watch, you see what I mean? One disease adds to the next. So now you don't have to go out to the movie. You just order it all on net. What do? Order it. And all the things that were messing people up, staying home, feeling sad, no friends, no connection, it adds on one thing. Whatever happens, it adds on. It looks like it's fine, but it ain't fine. It's adding on to the next one. So you don't get up and get around. Great. You just sit there and you order it from the whatever eating place, right? And they drive it by and drop it off. And you just sit at home, eat. And the Netflix, who's going to go to a movie when you can tell them, hey, add this on? I'm telling you, the stuff, the acceleration or relativity standards, what was relative 10 years ago is not relative now. What was relative 30 years ago is definitely not relative now. When I was coming, by the time in the 60s, I was grown then though. They had a movie, Mad, Mad World, that the world was crazy then. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. And there was another saying the white kids had, stop the world, I want to get off. Stop this thing. 1,037 and 1/3 miles per hour, stop it, I want to get off. Can you imagine what they would be saying now? Unbelievable. So this thing about relativity, we're going to take the relativity part to say that slow it down. We're preaching the gospel of fix it. Fix it or F it, excuse my language. You know what F stands for. New standard of wealth and happiness. If happiness is like, okay, I'm going to have to use myself for example. Like, the older I get, the happier I'm becoming. In fact, I have never been this happy in my life, not even close. I mean, well, no, the closer I get to here, the happier. And I remember when I was just the biggest Negro in the world, well, in that area, same thing. I remember in 1970, I had 2 days out of the whole year that's kind of like the ones I have now all the time. 2 days. I remember because it was 2 days, but I was wealthy. Everybody liked me. I was like, all the stuff I was doing, it was working. East Oakland Enterprises, I would say 70 because that was big. 68, 69, by 70, boy, look at here. It was big. But it would be almost like all these rich people that have all that money and they're not happy. And I was trying to figure it out. I said, well, doggone, this kind of got me tripped up here. I got everything I want and everything everybody else wants. And hey, I did something nobody does. None of the people I watch. I just stopped and said, hey, I'm going to do something. If I'm not enjoying it, I looked at a picture and I said, this guy here, and turned from the nicest guy in town. I looked at that, I said, that's some mean nigga there. You know, you could see it in your face. I said, that is one mean nigga there, boy, look at here. Luckily, nothing ever happened, so I didn't have a chance to do anything to anybody. But imagine with a super organization, and all of them as dummies. They wasn't dummies, but they wanted to show their muscle. You know, we're the toughest organization in our region, and we can do this. And I asked my partner a couple of years ago. I said, you know, we never even beat nobody up. So yeah, but we sure was ready. In other words, they would have loved to, with their mentality, to show their muscle, not kindness. They thought that was, you know, who wants to be kind with all this power? Like I say, they were nice, but they wasn't brilliant. They seemed okay for that period. But when you think back at it, okay, new standards of wealth and happiness. New experimental standards of happiness. Experimental standards is that there are no standards, real, digestible, implementable standards of happiness. Evidently, money is not doing it. Fame and fortune is not doing it, right? It's actually adding to the problem. It's running people crazy, you know. Therefore, we have to develop not only the organizational power and ability, but we have to push or move toward implementing standards of happiness, because that seems like the only thing that will help solve today's problems. If people can become happy, Happy. That's where the experimental, not a whole lot of experiments and all that. That means we have to be big. That big, we have to get billions of dollars in our control. Not to spend them, but to use them to, no matter what we discover, if we look better at it, the people probably would accept it better. Remember the hadith about what the Prophet is asking, what would people think about that guy there? He's going by, he's poor. And he says, poor fellas, pretty bad. So nobody would marry their daughter to him or nothing, you know. Oh, what about that guy? Oh, that guy, shoot, he's big. He's rich. He may not have, if you're rich and use riddles like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, people will follow it, right? But if you're talking big time factual stuff, functional stuff, and you raggedy, people won't listen to you because they're going to judge physical terms. Like little children. You notice little children, they judge people by size, not by intellect. I want to get big. I want to grow up and I want to get big, size, not smart, big. And they judge the people by size mostly because they're little and they're not normal, right? Okay. The thing about it is the people don't mature at all. They still use material judgments to measure a psycho-spiritual reality, happiness, psycho-spiritual. It comes from the mind, and you know what I mean, right? Although if you got a good functioning body and all of that, it makes happiness easier, but that don't mean it's absolutely necessary. Okay, regional, global, functional wealth and health management, of course. Functional wealth, functional health management. Therefore, everything should function to produce. If there's standards, they have a saying in Sudan that health is a crown worn on the head of the healthy, but it's only seen by those who are sick. Right? When you're sick and you're looking at somebody wealthy, that's the whole world. That's it. Right? So it's like a crown. But the only people who see that crown are those who are sick and infirm and what have you. And they see you got perfect health. Hey, man, I would give all of this for that. Think about it. If you're a blind man and you're a billionaire, how much would you give to see? Every drop of it. I'll get some more later. Right? Suppose you need a heart transplant, ear transplant, feet transplant, all that stuff. You give all of that up, right? To be a healthy, whole, sane being. Okay, I'm going to speed up. In other words, we have to adjust the world unless we affect the standards of good, the standards of evil, the standards of beauty. I'm sorry, but it falls on us because everything everybody else got right now is grotesque. The standards of health is a muscle man, but that's not functional, right? And it ain't gonna they ain't no happier than they get an extra little lump, but don't make nobody no happier, right? So, believe it or not, we have to acquire billions of dollars. That means us right here. Sure, we're going to do it. It don't make no difference. We'll give it a shot anyway. Why? Because we have peeked a little bit about what real happiness is, and the world is unhappy. Can you imagine? They was going to get some labor-saving devices. Now they got them. The labor-saving devices going to put them out of a job. Well, they don't have to work no more. The machine will do it. Well, if you're a human being, why would you make a machine to put yourself out of work? But the rich people would buy it to put the machine to work, but the machine can't buy anything. The people do. So it's a stupidity. If you make the people poor, they can't buy nothing from you, stupid. And whatever the machine can make, the machine don't need it. It's insanity. You see what I mean? These people is crazy. They have gone overboard and out to lunch. So we who think we got a little sense, we got to help them. But you have to be big to help them. because they ain't helping themselves, and the people are chasing a phantom. If I could just get another $50 trillion, I'm sure that'll pull it off. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. And what do they have to do? How many people do Amazon have to put out of work? Or whatever it is, the people that's doing all that machine stuff. And they definitely ain't happy, right? They getting worked to death. And when they get home, they got to get some rest. R-E-S-T. Just because that regularity and nonsensical stuff, if you work digging ditches, and sometime you working with a pick, sometime with a shovel, and sometime you could stop and wipe your brow and tell a joke, and the other guy do a little digging. And that's healthy work. You can work all day like that, right? Woo, 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 woo. Thing is watching you. Woo, woo, woo. Can't wipe. You better not wipe that sweat off of yourself. Can't wipe your sweat off. There's a rule. No sweat wiping in here, or you're fired. And the thing is wiped. Right? You can't do it. I'm telling you, this is insanity. And the people don't look at it as insane. They're going to put themselves, they're going to make a machine so they could make more money because they only pay the machine, nothing. Cost of making it, like a slave. Once you buy the slave, it's yours. But at least you have to feed the slave, have children. This nigga here, you ain't going to do nothing but just work. He can't have no children because he can't get home to have none because he's working. And he's too tired when he get there and paranoid. Think the bed pillow is watching him, right? These people are crazy. We have to tell the people this simple stuff that you didn't let the people run you crazy. Simple stuff. When young people would get married, what did you do? You just, all of y'all get together, give them a big wedding party and help them get, you'd give them a little something to daddy, give them a little something, Uncle Joe, give them a little something to get started. Now, can you imagine? They don't do that. The uncle and the daddy didn't spend all the money for the children, the last 2 generations. They didn't spend all up their money and they got to pay it off. Can you imagine? The kids got to pay off the debt the people. They got to pay off that debt. And just to be able to pay it off, they got to get another debt of their own at the schoolhouse. This is crazy. Okay, we have to tell the people that that's crazy and you're crazy for going along with it. Now, that means that we was thinking the 20th century was the last revolution, but there's transition is coming that we can't put our finger on it. But it's already in the air. It's changed. And it could happen. Historically, things would go over decades and all that to develop toward a revolution. You could go to sleep tonight and you wake up and the revolution is in progress right then. So, let's call them transformations in the air, and they will be big, and we can't calculate where they'll come from and how they'll, because see, everything is messed up. And everybody got a reason to be, the white folks talking about, you're going to replace us. Well, they paranoid. They killed all the Indians and they took everything. And so they paranoid, the niggers and the Mexicans going to replace us. Right? You guys, so we got to get rid of them. Of course, it'll be hard to get rid of them, all of them. So they're paranoid. But they don't have me and you to worry about. They ought to be worried. Boss man is the one doing everything that's done to him. Boss man did it. Boss man said, not nah, I looked for niggas and any of them to send. I said, nigga, did you send anything overseas? I ain't said nothing. I ain't had nothing to send. So you didn't you didn't send all the companies overseas 20, 30, 40 years ago? Not a one. In fact, my job went over there with them, with the company. Why? How you gonna blame me, right? So historically, there's some things that will be standard, though. The sage or those type of people would have to make sense out of the environmental, the society that the people are living in. They have to make sense out of it for the people. And mainly when we talk about the people, we're thinking more of Nineveh than Babylon, and everybody else kind of had a little crash and burn. So we're kind of hoping that, since they're all our relatives and everything, at least, you know what I mean, they might pull through. But whatever happens, the earth will still be here. And if the earth have to burn all the niggas up or freeze them, it's still going to, here it's got another 4.5 billion years left. This is what they say. So, billion would it be? That's a long time. If anybody ever saw those programs on TV that this is what the earth would look like in 1,000 years without the human being here, just 1,000 years. In 1,000 years, it would be no more streets because all the trees and roots would have grown up through everything. That's just in 1,000 years. And in 10,000 years, everything would have broken all that back down into what it was originally made out of, and all that would have been fertilizer, refertilizer, and right? It would be rolling. It'd be all things be back to in balance again. Okay. That's without the human being here. The earth got enough sense to know who's causing the problem. The earth is alive. It's a living organism. People can say what they want. I believe it's alive, and I'm pretty sure it is. And it's got sense too. And that's why we're getting all of these floods of biblical proportions, fires of biblical proportions. We're getting 100-year floods every 5 years, and they might start every year. They have, them tree lines. It says the lines in the trees says it ain't been this hot in so many 100 years, And now it's popping up, I guess the rings on the trees now, boy, they having a field day, Anyway, how do we fit in here? We fit in here by understanding that. And if we understand it, I think we're commissioned to do as much as we can about it. So, changing societal functional happiness, since that's supposed to be one of the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. Well, if you're happy, you got everything that fits into. But now all the stuff that they did then, those were environmental. And this is what people keep forgetting. The Constitution was produced in a certain environment. We did programs on, what's that old governor of Virginia? Give me liberty and give me death. Patrick Henry. Old Patrick. Yeah. Give me liberty or give me death. That was based on their environmental circumstances. We supplicated to the king. We did all of this, right? And he's still just acting a fool. Okay, that was their environment. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness was what they wanted at that time. And they wrote it down. They go, that this is what we believe that life is about. But life now may be the highest thing for life is to bring balance and happiness back to the environment. That might be the thing now. Okay. So, but the people are still being taught stuff that's 200-300 years old, right? And they're living off of that, and they don't want you to, they got a constitution, they got them people sitting there in them black robes trying to keep people's mind back then. And in those days, to send man forward, the evolution of government, right? And all of that. That's what they were saying then, but now they done got what they wanted, and they want to keep it like that. But keeping it like that keeps the people in a new neo-slavery. So what the world is in is a slavery, a 21st century slavery. And getting ready to get worse to where they're non-essential. Non-essential. And the people that's helping themselves become non-essential that's who they do. Hey, man. Now, if you don't think they're crazy, you think about it for just a little while. Related transitional standards. Transitional standards, but related. Now, we live in a time where we got to concoct related transitional standards. Now, basically, the party is over. The party is over. Our party is over. I don't know. I've been at just a wonderful party. But that party is over. Allah was just letting me party, cruise along. The little fitna of the white man, that little childish fitna, that's stupid. There ain't nothing. Maybe it'd stop everybody else. But now, related transitional standards. We have to come up, see, it ain't just me and you. All of us got children and grandchildren. Right? Okay. Leave him to boss man then. Let boss man have him. He know what to do with they behind. Boss man, look here. Put your life in the white man's hands. He's safe. Like Allstate, they safe with boss man. Hey, right? Tell the truth. Your family is safe. Your old people, all of them, they safe in boss man's hands. Safe as they can be. Can't get no safer. Allstate, safe hands. So there's a chance. There's no guarantee on this. Related transitional standards. We have to reform periodic transitional stages because now things accelerate so fast that you can't make permanent plans for this is the way the world will be. Okay, we'll have 10-year transitional periods. We may have to cut them down to 5. And we may have to have different sections in the world. You want to live in the 20th century, you could live over there, this wonderful world. And you live in the 20th century. You know, you drive kind of 20th century, the technology, right, in this world right now. We can do that. Yeah, you want to live like, say, the Amish. They grow good food. They do all of that. And they drive them buggies up and down the street. You can see them all in Ohio, Pennsylvania, you know. Right, there's a couple out there in Maryland. They drive, you hold up all the traffic, driving the horses down. It's okay. But now, this has been in my mind for decades. Why do we have to live in one time zone now or moving toward the future? Why? We can't, different states, different regions, and you can voluntarily go. I want to go to the mid 20th century area. You go to the mid 20th century area where they have cars and tractors. The tractors are not these big super Conda. They're like they was, big, two big wheels in the back and a little wheel in front from the 50s, right? And you have TVs, black and white TVs. Now you can have people smuggling in color TVs and stuff, across the border from the people living in the 21st or the 22nd century, right? And there'll be a little smuggling going on to the people living in the real horse and buggy. We want to live in the 17th century, the 18th century, except for medicine, right? Right? You don't have to get bled and get, stuff like that. I mean, you could get regular treatment, keep you alive. And you don't have to have all, you used to need a big family. Everybody go put to work, you feed them for a while, but they go to work fast. Like, like children, they 6 or 7. I know when I was in the country, I left when I was 6, but I still had a few little things to do. If I'd been around at 8 or 9, my brothers, and at 13, man, my brother did regular grown folks work. They did, you did the work. That's what you did on the farm. You know what I mean? You didn't well, I'll go to work out. First I go to school. Yeah, you go to school for a couple of hours a day, but you get your butt home. Why you think they got to, can you imagine we're still on a 200 or 300-year-old agricultural schedule for the summer? Why? Remember in the summer, the spring, all the stuff grow, and what do you do at the end of the summer? You harvest, right? And it's too hot to be in school anyway. Now they got air conditioning. Why are you still in school? Why are you out of school? Because we're on an agricultural schedule right now. 1,000 years, but it ain't 1,000. 100 years ago might as well be 1,000 years ago. Well, 100 years ago was kind of 100. Okay, let me speed up. Related transitional standards. Why can't we live in the world that we want to live in? And in a time where, hey, I'm going to live, I dug that early 20th century. I'm going to go over there for the next 10 years. And you could sign up to I want to transfer to, right? And in 6 months, right? Why not? Is that Brave New World? That's by that man. Yeah, but he was back in the third, and he. Uh, 1984 that's 1984. Good God Almighty, that guy had everybody in the penitentiary. I've heard about Brave New. I never read it. Why not? Why not that type of thing, right? Yeah, but why if we got 50 states in here, why don't we have each state choose what era they want to live? The only difference was those for the crackpots. Right. The places that you're talking about having were like vacation places to go to. So so they would have a section like that. Mm-hmm. In different eras. But the people who lived in the dystopic Right.
or the reality,
Right.
those would be their vacation destinations.
Okay, the people who lived in dystopia,
Right.
they could go to.
Everything was mechanized and routine.
Right.
They would choose to go to different period destinations
For vacation.
for vacation.
But they had people that had lived in those. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. What we have a world we could do with it what we want. It's just that you can't have one group of people. Concentration of wealth is serious. It gets more and more concentrated every day. Pretty soon, it'll be one big company. It's close to that now. Might as well be. Yeah, 4 or 5, whatever it is. Okay, so if we're dreamers, so what? Isn't that what the world is made out of? Dreams? What the hell? Who wants to live in that crap? Excuse my language. It's unbelievable. It's not necessary. Okay. Cut grass, fundraiser boxes, Titanic, Lusitania, Sussex. I don't know if the world we're living in right this minute reminds us of when you read history of pre-World War One. Pre-World War One, they had the Triple Alliance. Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary. For a while, Italy was in it. They were the Triple Alliance, and then that was a Triple Entente. Later on, the Turks got in it when Italy stepped out, and they got in the Triple Alliance with the guys that lost World War, with the Germans and everything. The Triple Entente, which actually was more technically France, England, later on the U.S., and so they formed their alliance. And it was similar to 1939 when Poland was attacked by Germany. Since Poland was attacked by Germany, Poland had a treaty with the U.S., with the British and the French. So they had to declare war on Germany. We live in that period right now. This is a post that the people don't look at it. This is a period when all you hear is about we got NATO, we got this, and we got that, and everybody's in their crew. Okay, now I tell you, this would have happened decades ago, it would have been more uncomfortable. We're relatively comfortable right now because the team we talked about all the time, Russia, China, Iran, Yemen, Syria, right, and others. And the majority of the world sitting on the fence, don't want to be bothered. If you talk about ASEAN, the Asians, all of that, hey, we don't want to be bothered with y'all. We just want to get some more money and help and get our people, rolling. We don't care. We don't want to, because the U.S. is over there trying to get everybody, them dummies, and everybody's saying, boss man, hey man, and the U.S. is technically finished. Everybody knows that, and they done messed everybody's life up, so they can't. It ain't nobody. All this phony stuff they talking about, it don't exist. It's not real. And to have everybody in America flat broke and need help, and they saying it on the news. We're sending zillions of dollars over there. And everybody looking at the little stuff flying over there. And they're not against Ukraine, but hey, when you're looking at your own little children, their mouth hanging all out, right? You say, what? You see what I mean? So these people are mad. They don't know when to push the button and when not to. They don't know when to put the thing in drive and when to put it in reverse. They don't know when to hit the brake. In other words, they don't know how to manage what they got. They don't know how to manage it. And they got a crackpot. They don't know where they want to go. They don't know. All they can do is go back to, we was big way back then. They go back 70 something years, World War II. When it was over, we was big. Well, that's the same thing. The big niggas said, man, back in through, nigga was getting money. Da, da, da. You hear it till it starts to, you know, what did you do with the money? Oh, nigga spent that money up. Okay. Well, now, what about now? Nigga need. Okay, well, there's a thing is, see, I'm telling you, once you done did all that dumb stuff and Allah give you a second chance, you know about, hey, man, shoot. Anyway, let me speed up. Da-da-da-da. We talked about short-range fundraisers. Titanic, Lusitania, Sussex Plague. I mention these names because, number one, the Titanic, you didn't heard all what the white folks say. Listen to Jubilee singers, 1910, 1912, and all that period, when the Titanic sunk. Listen to Negroes. You think they was singing about a party. All them white folks went to the bottom. Listen to Jubilee. Just pick up that period, use that period, and listen to how happy they sounded. You know what I mean? The same time when Jack Johnson won the championship, right? 1910 and all that. Okay. I mentioned these. Does anybody know anything about these three ships, the Titanic, the Lusitania, and the Sussex? Okay. The Titanic was unsinkable, right? Except it hit the doggone thing. If it would have hit it straight on, it would have never sunk. But they were trying to get around it, so they tore the whole thing aside. Because that's when they first built those cart compartments. You close the door and turn the thing, and it seals it up airtight. But when you hit that boy sideways and rip it all, and then, anyway, 10% of the iceberg is showing, 90% of it is under, so it just tore it off. Okay, here's what the importance. The Lusitania, 1915, was sunk by German U-boats. The Sussex was also in 1916. It was sunk. They had the Sussex Pledge, and Wilson was trying to stay out of the war. But the Sussex Pledge was that if any more ship sunk, so 1917, boss man come in. Okay. These, what's the name? Titanic, unsinkable. Lusitania, thousands of people. It was sunk off the Irish coast. All the people they was just Sussex. Okay. All the stuff right now is indicative. Indicative, I mean almost word for word, of about 100 years ago, in the teens. These alliances, these treaties, right? These NATO, this old, that old, and everybody, nobody want to get involved in this except the United States to maintain their power. The Germans could care less. They want to crank out their goose-stepping machines and send Mercedes around the world. And they want to be Wait till the winter time come again. They gonna want, they want what they have. And so the lies they telling in the media about everybody's on the U.S. side, that's not true. It's not even close to true. People are tired of the United States because the economy of England will be like the Lusitania. The French economy will be like the Sussex. They go to the bottom. Everything that the United States have planned for NATO and all those people, they will go to the bottom. And the U.S. is not, although everybody telling them all day long, it's like telling a dope fiend, man, you done lost your house, you done lost your wife, your children, your car, you done lost everything. They still run it, man. I gotta get me one more shot till they hit rock bottom. But the U.S. gonna hit rock bottom by itself. Nobody is going with it. Prepare for the U.S. to go down. It's gonna drag people down, but they're not coming willingly. They don't want to go. We don't want that undertow to take you under when the ship go down. They're getting away from. They don't want to be bothered. Okay, let me speed up. In order to do this stuff, we have to have more focus and determination. The vacation that we have been doing, it seems like it was fitness. It's not fitness, it's just child's play. What we're getting ready to come up against is big, and it's interesting too. So the richest people are acting the stupidest. Look at them. The richest people are acting stupid. The biggest people are acting the smallest. We have to do this so we don't lose that. Like they. The dumbest. Why? Deception of visibility. It's just something nigger. Deception of visibility. Deception of visibility when something is supposed to, it looks, the guy that's got the big muscles looks the healthiest, but he's not the healthiest. He just built up something that's not even useful. You can't work with that. You don't get no extra work. I mean, if you're a bricklayer, if you got to work with sludge hammers and stuff, but you keep working with it too long, you're going to work off all them extra muscles. And you have a nice build, but you won't have all them extra. You got to do the special exercises that have all of that stuff.
You know what?
Yeah.
Just thinking about what you're saying, recently, a lot of those guys have been dying early.
Yeah, all the stuff.
Before competitions or what have you, they
Yeah.
die early.
A lot of the stuff they used to get big and things lining the market and stuff.
That stuff, if they're using certain things, it shrinks up your physical parts and puff up everything else. But if you use that stuff too long, it's going to run you crazy. You got to have extra. You got a gallon of super juice, and it just not necessary. It's too much extra stuff in there. And it runs you crazy. The people, I don't know. Anyway, here's the point. We have to bring sanity back to the world. That's part of what our goal is. It has to be. So we have to be, or we should be focused on that. It's not clear exactly. We're going to temporarily do the stuff that we have outlined, but that's not the final. That's not the. Okay. We have to take our destiny in our own hands. And it's like writing your own history. It says write your own book, so write your own story. The chief said it in '76, remake the world, but remake it in a real way. Why should we have gotten this far and we're not enjoying anything? The level of happiness, I would say 100 years ago, people were much more happier than they are now. Because if they got, when people had something to strive for, and America was always, you know, probably moving forward a little last couple 100 years, they kill a few Indians, they wasn't worried about that. Take their land, no big deal. But that's the way it is when things are headed your way. But now the reverse done kicked in. They can't do nothing right. They can't do nothing right, and everybody know it. Uh, should we have a happy party and say, yeah, you deserved it, old mean old boss man? The only thing about it is if Allah give you clarity, then you spread the clarity. The other thing is our family and our friends, everybody we know are mixed in this stuff. And they don't have no clarity on nothing hardly. On what we just talked about, it's only a few people done thought about it a little bit. And they can't make 2 cents out of any of it. Take our destiny in our own hands. New standard of intelligence. A new standard of intelligence. Not what they have on them dumb tests. Because the people that get higher on them dumb tests are the dumbest people in the world. Because they just get test-wise. And you don't have to do nothing, you just take a test, right, and write down stuff. So intelligence is either something like to be involved in your environment and develop an environment where you and the environment get the best out of itself. You know, it may not mean who makes the most money and stuff like that. Okay, let me just say a few more things. I mentioned this is World War I. Remember Triple Entente, Strategic Command Center, Negro style. We'll get into that at times, but Strategic Command Center, Negro style. That means we go on according to what Allah and give us understanding of. This period, the uphill road, that's our favorite ayat for this period of time, what will make you know what the uphill road is? Post-traumatic growth, and how we have used it. That's what the history we're going to, post-traumatic growth, but how we're going to use it. Our challenge in our time, climate, psycho-spiritual success, internal conquest. Let me go over that a minute. Our challenge in our time, climate, which we all can see, and psycho-spiritual success, mind and spiritual success. And in order to get anywhere close to that internal conquest, taskiya bil nafs. We'll talk about some of this other stuff after a while. Strategic Command Center, global transition. step into the future. Some of the old stuff we won't even mention. One of the things I'll close with is something that the rich people don't say it. Most of the people in Hollywood don't say it. That I made a mistake. You know, I bought a bill of goods that they told me this was happiness. And you want to know why the people keep doing that and they know it don't produce happiness? It's because they can't just look in the mirror and say, they took me for a ride. I got taken for a ride. So they all die chasing bubbles. The ability to say, I made a mistake. This is not it. This is not Valhalla. This is not the happy hunting ground. This is not what they made it out to be. A couple of guys might have got a little bit. I kind of listen to Denzel a little bit every now and then, because when that foolishness happened in Hollywood a while back, he said it's the devil that got, you know. And he'd been making lectures. The greatest part that I liked is he made a University of New Orleans, somewhere down there. He said there's no U-Hauls behind a hearse. Have anybody ever said that? No U-Hauls behind a hearse. I said, that's good. In other words, you can't take it with you. And he's been married to the same lady, looked like all the time. Now, our job, I'm not getting patriotic, but it's kind of Captain America Muslim type. Anybody see the reason that last year's Captain America is a Negro Captain America, right? Yeah. And then he brought when it was the last episode. Actually, I enjoy watching with my kids sometime that stuff. We don't have time now, but we had plenty of time then. And it made a little sense. That's why one group of white folks trying to get a message across. And it's a reasonable message. Captain America is not white anymore. He can't be. It's just not how they know. Jews will not replace us. Somebody's going to replace you behind. Now, the standard white folks, most of them don't care. They just want to be happy. There's a few crackpot crackers. They said, we'd rather just kill everybody. And okay, that ain't going to work either. So the world, we got a lot to offer the world. This is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to close with this. We just offer it to them. That's all. Because we're already happy, so we just offer it to the world. Living evolution, that's like, you're living evolution and you know it. That's different. You can feel the evolution and you can adjust the evolution. Speed it up, slow it down, divert it, but it's all part of evolving. Okay, $30,000 or plus. The last thing I'll close with is L.A. County is the new county jail, which would now be the old county. Well, they had the old county, which was in that building you see it in L.A. that they have on their badge. Okay. Yeah, Dragnet. That's the old county. Then they had the county that I was in the old county, but I was in the county that had 7,000 people in it. That was the L.A. County. That was That was called a new county in the set, but now they got a new county because LA got so many people and they got so many people in jail. But when I was in there, I was in an area called 3300. So when I was in the county jail now, this is 73, I done came back from South America and I done put my case together to prove that the white man is bad. And then most of my witnesses was kind of colored. There were a few Latinos, there was a few people, but I kind of got it straight with them that this the storyline. The only thing is they would have to sit in court and admit that they've been doing wrong. That's how they know that what is. And then, so the feds went to them and told them, well, you go ahead and we're going to put you in jail for the rest of your life or you won't make no more money. You're going to be broke from now on because I'm going to be on your case. So the feds, I put together my case and the feds went right behind it and pulled it apart. So I was a little upset about that. I'm still young and martial artist and all that, jumping up and down, turning flips. I was in pretty good shape. So anyway, 3300 was the psycho ward in the LA County Jail. Now, I was in there because, first of all, everybody know, the government know the story I'm going to tell, right? So they put me in the psycho ward with doo-doo on the walls, and the people come by with the white smocks on, and one is talking to the other. This one has, paranoid schizophrenia. This is him. And you sitting there, or probably you just laying on the concrete looking up at these dumb white folks. And when they looking at you, they're like, these people are crazy. And you know you're not crazy, but you know that you're going to go out into society and the story that you're going to tell it don't fit in those days. It don't fit. You could tell it now and it fit. Everybody knows the crooked police. But that time the police was honorable. Jack Webb now. I was an honest police. Yeah, it was no like crooked police, crooked FBI. If you said you was an FBI agent, you had a halo on your head. They didn't do stuff like kill niggas and all that, and set them up and burn them alive. Do like, they're like the LA police. They love burning people up. I mean, they be roasting people. People might know it now. Symbionese Liberation Army, you just lit them up and burn the house. And I was saying that was a police that was shooting all of them 10, 15 years ago. And they got him in a place, and I told everybody, I said, they're going to burn that nigga up. And it's burn him up. The LA police, if they can't, they going to set you on fire if they can. And they burned him, I don't know if you remember that. They used to burn him up alive. The Symbionese Liberation Army in 75, they burned him up alive. LA police, there's something wrong with them. They believe in burning, nigga, you're going to be in there, we're going to burn your butt out of there. But anyway, I had fights with them in the county jail. I mean, by myself. And I think I was in the 3300, yeah, because the police said something to me, and I backed up and jumped on them big metal tables, and I dove at the cracker and wrapped my legs around him. And I knew martial arts, so I know if you throw a punch, I didn't throw no punches. I can taste that cracker now. I just wrapped my legs around him and my arms, and I just chewed that white man. Look at here, you should have saw his face. Good God Almighty. But I mean, I was not cannibalistic, but I just chewed at that cracker, and he should have heard him hollering, oh, Lord, good God, get this nigga off. And I was just all over his face. And they couldn't do nothing for a long time because I'm not reaching out so they can grab nothing. And boy, look at here. And when he come back to work, I was still in the jail, and he still had all them chew marks all over his face. You know, the rings on his face, he had the rings all, boy, I chewed that white man up. I mean, they couldn't do nothing about it because they was oppressing me, you know. So that I didn't go to get no other case or nothing for assault on, because they was messing with me. And if they gave me any place to talk, that's what I was going to tell them. So, doo-doo on the floor and on the walls, and they have you in that environment. Because maybe 85% of the people in there might be kind of crazy, you know, but they ain't got no stopwatch that says this one crazy, that one crazy, you know. And you in there and you're a nigga, so he looks like, and you laying there on the floor looking at them, and they looking at you, and it's just this nigga here, and they got the clipboard. See, this nigga here is paranoid schizophrenic, and he think the police is out to get him, and they writing all this. That's him. I said, yeah, but it's on the other foot right now. We got them, excuse the expression, in the shit house, and we telling everybody, boss man did this, boss man did that, and boss man ain't got no sense. Watch him, right? And it's not we're trying to pay nobody back, but it's kind of clowning him. And everybody, they don't invite them to no universities and give a big talk. They just invite me, and I tell them these people is crazy, right? Anyway, so that's it for today. Are there any questions or comments? This is a special time. This is
Brother had mentioned that he was shocked seeing Western media criticize Israel for shooting a journalist. He was saying that he's asking, is this a sign of things turning against the Zionists?
that was just a little noise. It's not like it really was. But definitely the things have changed because, see, the Zionists is mean and they can't stop. See, they can't control themselves because the last thing you would want to do is kill somebody in the media and do it where you just pull out your gun and bam, and shoot them. And like they said, they got press on the front, press on the back, and the helmet got press on it. You can't say that you didn't know, right? And then what it does, since this is a Christian Arab lady, it unifies all the press, including everybody that's not a card-carrying Zionist in the press, feels some affinity. You know, a nigga get killed, somebody in the press get killed. We all press people, so yes, it's one of the signs of the decline of the West, and also of their unbelievable arrogance, and they can do anything they want to people. They don't have the right to do none of it. And when the people wake up, they're going to say, how did we go through? How did we allow that to happen? Can you imagine?
They said they think, but she was saying they can control our happiness and it can control how we die or our death. That's what she said, based on what happened at the funeral.
Right.
You know, that's the feeling that's in occupied Palestine.
But I tell you one thing, them people in occupied Palestine, they don't give up. They have already developed a people with unbelievable. I mean, and they done taken everything from them. And they don't, the stuff that they do, they're like evil. They planning evil. Well, we ain't gonna let you, we're gonna spray stuff on your crops so you can't grow. We're gonna cut down your wonderful trees. It took them, I don't know how long ago, all them beautiful olive trees, and I just cut them down. And the house that you live in, we're gonna charge you to take down your own house. And if you don't, we're gonna, unbelievable. It's unbelievable. See, it's worse than South Africa. It's technically worse. Worse. It's the same thing that they took over land and enslaved the people on it. But there are special places. Everything. Total desecration. So, yeah, you can just tell the people that was a sign that's moving toward. And then the lady was Christian, so it unifies the Christians and the Muslims. And then the people say, I know they did Muslims like that, but she was a Christian. It's little things, but when you see the flowers at a thing made in the sign of a cross, that's millions of people out there. Yeah, not the crescent of the star, it's a cross, right? And they see all the people there, and the place. She's been buried in a Christian funeral, a Christian process, Christian methodology. But that's the way it is. There's a period of time when you're on the way up, you can't do nothing wrong. You don't do nothing but wrong. When the Americans 200 years ago, they slaughtered India, they did it the whole show. For what? It's on the way up. A lot of them already wrote it, they going up there. And you will say, well, how did they do that? But now, every people have its time. When they start heading down, look at American policy now. They can't do anything right. Nothing. They don't do nothing right. That's because their time is up. We don't know when it'll collapse. We don't know when the currency will collapse. We don't know the day of the solidification of the universal harmony that helped bring it down. But it's headed that way, and we're comfortable with it. We could almost say, they said it ain't over to the fat lady sang, but that girl is up there. She on the stage right now. Hey, man, that girl getting ready to sing. Because boss man, it's technically over. It can't do anything right. Nothing. With nobody. It tells other people it's on the way up. You're Indian, you got to support us. They said, we don't want to, look, man, we don't want to. They tell ASEAN, all of you guys, you look at all them ASEAN guys, not one white person in there. They all look Asian. They all dark-skinned with straight hair. All of them standing there, and the only white man is the dumb president. Right? And he's telling them, we want you guys to be with us against you know who. Huh? Yeah. But submit and be with us against the Chinamans who look just like them. They've been there next to each other for the last 5,000 years, and they're all finally getting it together. And we want you. And then they offered them, we're going to give you $15 billion. You ought to heard them. The people said, hell, you're going to give us what? All it was an insult. You're going to give collectively all that. That's about
But you're going to give Ukraine $40 billion.
Look, when it start going wrong, it ain't nothing. That's why you can go home. This fight is over. It's not that we're happy, but we have to do something for our people, because remember, this thing is crashing, and collateral damage, we don't want our people to be the thing to fall on them. So we have to, and remember, our families, they don't get all of this. They don't get it. Either because they're not old enough or whatever, they don't get it. Therefore, it's our responsibility to pull this off. And then the other people are innocent. They oppressed too. They just don't know it. And some of them know it. Don't think that the white folks going to work, them old grandmas, that used to be a teenage job 30 years ago, working in McDonald's. But then I noticed about 20, 25 years ago, when I would travel and I'd be in one of them, I would see old people working in it, old grannies and everything. I thought, oh, this has changed up. And then, like now, it's a standard job. And imagine, I just heard this, I wouldn't have no way of knowing. Some McDonald's and stuff, they just still make $8 or $10 an hour. And $15 an hour is a great goal, right? They still working on it, 50. Do you know if I had people that was friends, they worked a superstructure in 1978. They made $15 an hour 45 years ago. 70 years longer than that. Call it. They made that then. And a house didn't cost but $20,000 in those days, $25,000. They were Negroes. They worked the superstructure, shipbuilding company. And they were just lower wage, inductees. I'm going to close with this. I have no idea. I already know that, whatever it is, alhamdulillah, but I also know that I have no idea how those people make $15 and $20 an hour, and they charge you for rent, so $1 billion. You got to have car taxes, cars. God, I said, I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they do it. They're working a miracle. But I know that brings about a change. And those people are our home folks. It doesn't make no difference. Oppression takes the racism out of you. So I would say most of the people that are racist now, shooting up people. And can you imagine you can't go nowhere without getting shot up? Can you imagine what the news looks like? First of all, they show L.A. and California, the Golden State. Oh, my goodness. And Seattle and all of that. And they see it on TV. I know they don't believe it because America's the gold in the streets, stuff like that. Yeah. And all the Latinos on the border, you talking about insanity? You want them not to come? Just instead of all that money that you're trying to stop them, send it down there. You could just give it out if you just wanted to. You could just be down there and, okay, everybody, stick your finger in this. We're going to give you down there. We'll give you, we're going to really splurge. You're going to get $400 a month in U.S. dollars. and the prices will be down there. You're going to give that away. You can print it in your treasury here. You can just give it away. And you think anybody would come up here when you giving them all that money to stay down there or produce jobs? They're going to produce jobs because with all that money, hey, and all these old trucks and everything that you can't sell up here, they love them. Send them down there. You can't get them to come up here because people don't want to leave where they are. They love it. They just can't make, they're starving to death. The people are stupid. They're technically stupid. They would rather spend billions of dollars for border patrol. You wouldn't have to have no border patrol. You could put 3 people on the border, the whole U.S. border, 1,200 miles or more. It's longer than that. You don't have to worry. Nobody's going to cross the border because you're sending everything down there. Yeah. Or you're sending money down there, which, anyway, are there any questions or comments?
No, that was it.
Okay, but remember, when people are headed down, they do like crack addicts. They do like dope fiends. Everything they do is wrong. Everything they do is wrong. They don't do nothing right. When they're on the way up, they can do all the wrong. That's what Allah wrote. You can free ride. Whatever you do, it's fine. So we thank you very much. I'm going to write.